And so getting into Ultimate Invasion number 4, we do pick up with Howard Stark and also pick up with the Reed Richards of this universe. Because remember, this could be the Ultimate Marvel Universe timeline, but just changed thanks to the maker into his own image. Either way right now, you have the Reed Richards of this new timeline and Howard Stark of this new timeline working together on a time machine for the maker. And the reason why they're making a time machine for the maker, because this is not his first time playing with this timeline, because apparently something happens down the road where apparently he's unable to move forward deeper into the timeline. And so he has to go back in time and reset the timeline all over again and to hopefully make this universe in his own image. The problem is though, he does not remember what happens down the road that makes him go back to reset the timeline. But on top of that, he forgot how to build a time machine that gives him that ability to actually do that. That someone did some damage to his head, and of course, he lost some things when it comes to his memory. But right now, you have Howard Stark and Reed Richards of this universe working together on the time machine. Now, while you have the two characters working together, you have Reed Richards of this universe tell Howard Stark, I know where the maker comes from. I know how he got here. And that is very huge because now it seems like this Reed Richards knows the maker is also another Reed Richards, but he comes from somewhere else or possibly a different timeline. And he tells Howard, I can show you where he came from. And with that being said, Howard is very intrigued. But Howard said, wait, let us finish this first. And then after that, please show me where the maker comes from. And so after that, you then have Howard Stark ask the Reed Richards of this universe, how long have you been trapped inside this laboratory? And that is a very good question to ask. And the reason why, because right now they're inside the city. And when it came to Ultimate Invasion number 3, when the maker showed us the Reed Richards of this universe in the city, in the laboratory that's inside the city, the big question was, how long has he been there for? Because when it comes to the city, we have to remember the city times moves differently. In the outside world, one day could pass, but inside the city, it could be weeks, months, years, who knows how long. And so when it comes to the Reed Richards of this universe, he says, hey, I've been here for a very long time. And matter of fact, when it comes to Howard, he knows the maker had put the Reed Richards in this lab a long time ago when it comes to time in the city. But you have the Reed of this universe tell Howard Stark that he knows he could leave the laboratory anytime he wants to. But unfortunately, he does not leave. And the reason why, because he loves the idea of being here with all the advanced technology that could help him achieve greatness when it comes to science. But that is the way the maker is torturing him, because the maker knows when it comes to this Reed Richards, there's one day he might become the next maker. But to get to that point, he has to stay here and be involved with science nonstop. And so it's kind of like him torturing the Reed Richards of this universe, but at the same time giving him the ability to leave if he wants to. But this Reed is not leaving, because again, this laboratory has all the things he needs to achieve greatness when it comes to science. But then we jump forward 1 week later. And when we do jump forward 1 week later, we do pick up right now with Howard Stark meeting up with the maker and telling the maker, I finished it. I made your time machine. And this is great news for the maker, because now he has the ability to go forward in time, but to also go back in time to make sure this universe goes the way he wants it to go. Because again, this is his universe in his own image. But then you have Howard say, well, really, what I did was I made a copy of your time machine, but a better version. See, I realized what was wrong with your time machine. Because you forgot how to build it, there was only a few missing parts. And so that is why you were unable to actually finish it. But when I came in, I was able to take what you built, make a copy of it, and then actually finish it and made a better version of it. And so with that being said, you now have a copy of my time machine, but you cannot use it. And matter of fact, I brought someone here because I feel like you and him deserve to go ahead and kill each other off. And you're wondering, what does he mean by that? Because we come to find out, right now, Howard and the Reed Richards of this universe are working together. And you have the other Reed Richards of this universe shut down the shields around the city. The shields that keeps someone from the future out. And of course, with the shields being down now, that one particular person is able to arrive inside the city to come after the Maker. And that would be Kang the Conqueror. Because remember, at the end of Ultimate Invasion number 3, we got a new Kang for this universe. But we have no idea who is this new Kang at all. And so, of course, right now, he's coming after the Maker. But the problem is, we have no idea why he's coming after the Maker for. Now, truthfully, we could say the reason why he's going after the Maker is because time is ruined in the future thanks to the Maker, which honestly makes sense because with the Maker now having a time machine that he could use to go back and forth between time, he most likely ruin things in the future when it comes to time. And so that is why Kang had to step up and come after the Maker for. But the problem is, you have Howard kind of tell us that he knows who Kang could possibly be, but of course does not tell us. But he says, you two guys deserve each other. And so this is Howard saying, I'm down with the idea of you two guys just going at each other and most likely killing each other to save the timeline. Because for Howard, the problem he has with the Maker is the Maker came in and reset the timeline in his own image. And that is not fair, because to Howard Stark, when it comes to humans should have the right to make choices. But the problem is the Maker took that away because he made sure the timeline went his way, not the actual way. And that is not fair. And it's Howard saying, we deserve a future or a timeline that we actually have control over, not the Maker. And so that is why he is okay with Kang coming back here and fighting against the Maker. And so it does lead into a big battle between Kang the Conqueror and the Maker. And when it comes to this battle between the two characters, you have the Maker right now just upset with the idea that his whole entire plan, his entire city is falling apart. But for Kang, this is great because now Kang is getting the chance to get rid of the Maker. Now, when it comes to Howard Stark has something up his sleeve. But unfortunately, he has to do something else first to make sure his plan actually goes to plan. And so we do see him right now trying to get to a certain spot to be able to pull off this plan. The problem is right now you have both forces of the Maker and also Kang fighting against each other, but also attacking him as well. Because right now it's complete chaos in the city. Everybody is just fighting everybody. Either way, you didn't have Kang being able to hit the Maker so hard, it makes the Maker remember everything that he has forgotten, including the origin of Kang as well. But then we get this flashback, and when it comes to this flashback, it's really more of the Maker going to the far future. And the reason why he went to the far future is to see how great his work went, meaning that he wants to see how far his work goes when it comes to the timeline that he has built, how far in the future it goes, except he reached the end of time, where he was confronted by Kang the Conqueror. And you have Kang tell the Maker, you are my creator, you are my maker. And that right there tells us the Maker technically did make Kang. But again, we still have no idea who Kang is. With that being said, you then have Kang tell the Maker, you're about to witness my origin. And he blasts the Maker right in the head, which tells us why the Maker forgot about different things, because Kang technically blew off a huge chunk of his head. And so then we jump back in time to the present day. And so when we jump back to the present day, it really does seem like the Maker is about to tell us who is Kang the Conqueror, what is his true identity. Except you didn't have Howard Stark step in to cut off the Maker from telling us. But here's the thing, because right before you have Howard Stark blow up the entire city, you have Howard Stark talk in a way, and you also have Kang the Conqueror talk in a way where it seems like possibly Howard Stark is just Kang the Conqueror from the future. That somehow Howard Stark was able to survive in the far, far future and become Kang the Conqueror to just come back in time to come after the Maker. Now, that is what I truthfully believe here right now in this section. But at the same time, we don't get any confirmation because you don't have the Maker, nor Howard, nor Kang tell us the true identity of Kang. But right after that, you didn't have Howard Stark blew up the entire city. But we have to jump over to Latveria, and when we do, we actually do pick up with Dr. Doom, sorry, not Dr. Doom, the Reed Richards of this universe, who's right now wearing the mask of Dr. Doom. Either way right now, apparently he made a promise to Howard Stark, and he says, I am going to keep that promise. And we see him right now packing up the other time machine that was built between Howard Stark and the Maker. And it seems like he is about to deliver the time machine to somebody else. But do we have to jump back over to Howard Stark, Kang the Conqueror, and also the Maker? And when we do, Kang the Conqueror and the Maker, they've been knocked out thanks to Howard Stark's explosion. But we do see Howard Stark get right back up, and we see him walk over to Kang the Conqueror because he wants to know the true identity of Kang the Conqueror. And so right when he gets there, he does pull off the mask of Kang the Conqueror to see who it is. But unfortunately, we are not shown who is Kang the Conqueror. But we do see Howard Stark cry, and that could mean a lot of different things. It could be Howard Stark, or it could be Tony Stark, his son. So then we pick up 1 week later. Now when we do, we actually pick up right now with the world leaders of this universe that was made by the Maker. Now we have to remember, when it comes to the world leaders of this universe, they were actually working together, but working with the Maker, because the Maker realized when it came to humans cannot have world peace. And the reason why, because humans love violence. Humans love war. And that right there is so important. And so what he did was he brought the different leaders of the world to come together and say, we are going to control the hunger for war and violence by working together. And so what he did was he would have one person be the bad guy, and the rest of the leaders would attack that one person. And once that one person is stopped, it goes on to the next leader, and they just take turns being the bad guys. And with them doing that, it's a way to control war and violence on Earth, to feed the hunger the human race has when it comes to war and violence. Either way, with the Maker now gone, they're wondering, what are they going to do? Because that man was in charge. That man had built the master plan to control the human race. And right now they're wondering, what are they going to do next without him? But we kind of find out that apparently the city is still alive and well. It's just locked up. And apparently it could be locked up for 2 entire years. And the question is right now, what is happening inside the city? Why is it locked up for? Now, here is the bigger thing, because apparently this is not the first time the city was locked down. And so that means this had happened before. But what happened last time when it came to the city being locked down? What happened? We have no idea. But right now you have our leaders wondering, what should they do next without the Maker? Because right now it's up to them to keep their master plan going without his help for 2 entire years. And so we then pick up with Tony Stark, and you have Tony meeting up with Reed, the Reed of this universe. And right now you have the two characters going to work together to fix the timeline, because that was Howard Stark's goal, to change the timeline back to how it should have been, where the human race has more control, not just one guy. And so right now his goal is to have his son and Reed go back in time to fix the timeline. And so even though Howard is gone, quote unquote, he left behind a lot of different notes on how to fix the timeline. And that right there is very, very important, because now you then have Reed, the Reed of this universe, bring out the second time machine. Because remember, there were two time machines, the one the Maker made and the one Howard Stark made. Now the one the Maker made was broken, and so Howard made a copy of the first but made it better, which is complete. But then Reed and Tony were able to fix the first one together, and so now Tony has the ability to go back in time now to fix the timeline, to free the timeline from the Maker's control. And so you have Tony get up and make himself another Iron Man suit, except he does not call himself Iron Man. He calls himself Iron Lad. And that is going to be very crucial, I feel like, for later books when it comes to the Ultimate Marvel Universe. But now Tony and the Reed of this universe, they have the ability to time travel, to hopefully and finally free this universe from the Maker's control. And so we do see Iron Lad and also Reed Richards go back in time, to the point where technically they had to fix one thing that's going to fix other things down the road. But apparently when it came to the new timeline for the Maker, it all began with one particular person, someone who was not found. And if that person was found, the universe could go back to its original way. Because remember, most times when it comes to a new timeline, something had changed in the past to break open a new timeline that breaks away from the original timeline. And so when it comes to the Ultimate Marvel Universe timeline, there was a breaking point. Something happened with the Maker to be able to make a new timeline in his own image. And apparently the breaking point was Steve Rogers, Captain America, because he was never found. And so with him being found, it could mean the original timeline for the Ultimate Marvel Universe could come back just like that. And so this was the breaking point that led into the Maker's timeline, the one he had control over. But now we're going back to the original timeline, the one we all know and love, the original Ultimate Marvel Universe. But with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.